is a domestic violence suspect. It's unclear exactly what the nature of that means exactly, but for the most part, he has just simply been traveling a little too fast. But other than that, not too hectic. And in fact, it looks like he may be slowing down here and perhaps considering pulling over. The California Highway Patrol has confirmed that it is just him in the vehicle. That's just information that we have heard over our scanners. They did talk about that child, and they explained that the child was not in the vehicle. So that was definitely some good news. And as far as we know, it is just that male suspect at this time. Yeah, he's actually now down southbound 5 near Saddleback College, for those of you who are familiar with that area. So it's going to put him closer to the Ladera Ranch area, parts of Mission Viejo, I believe. So he is south of that now, near Mission Hospital, another major landmark here in the area. And he continues here on the southbound 5. During the entire time that we have been monitoring this pursuit, he has only been on the southbound 5. But of course, because we know that this is a pursuit that actually originated in the Montebello area, it would be interesting to see if he at one point decides to make a U-turn and head back in the direction that he came. But for now, continuing southbound here on the 5, approaching Avery Parkway. There has been no information relayed over the scanner, at least in terms of whether the suspect is armed or whether a weapon was used during the commission of the original incident. But of course, the police department, they're going to treat this, of course, with the utmost of caution. And if there's any possibility that this guy could potentially be armed, that will affect the way that they approach this, especially when this pursuit comes to an end. That is when we will really see how careful they are in approaching this suspect. If they believe that he is armed, then that could be a situation where they could call in other resources, perhaps the SWAT team if need be. He is now in Orange County Sheriff's territory, so if a situation like that were to unfold, they would likely request the assistance of the Orange County Sheriff's Department. But for now, it is the California Highway Patrol. You see them there directly behind this suspect, continuing here on the southbound 5. Thank you. Thank you. That is actually some information that we heard come across the scanner. They said that it is just the single male in the vehicle, which is definitely some good news. Of course, when there was the word spreading that there was possibly a child inside, of course, that was going to make this a much more different pursuit in the way that they approached this. But once they realized that the child was not in the vehicle, then it basically gave them the liberty to pursue this, as we see most pursuits, really. And I actually have some information to share. My pilot, Patrick McKernan, is telling me that he is hearing from the police helicopter that there was a successful hit on that spike strip. I think we missed it a few couple exits ago with it being a dark spike strip. I don't think we saw it, but it sounds like he actually did hit it, and there was a successful hit on one of the front tires. Mexican authorities are not going to let him get into their area, so this will come to an end before it gets that far. How, though, of course, we don't know, but we do know that the California Highway Patrol is going to stay with this, and of course they would like to have this end as peacefully as possible. Yeah, highly doubt it. I mean, he may try to crawl his way down there. We saw a pursuit just a couple days ago. Actually, I remember you, Chuck, were on it with me. The one in Palmdale, where the guys, he had lost at least 3 of his 4 tires and still continued at 4 miles an hour till eventually it became a barricade where he refused to get out of the vehicle. So we don't know that this is what's going to happen in this type of situation, but of course, based off of our experience with previous pursuits, it's not out of the question for something like that to potentially happen. Well, he's definitely... I'm sorry, Colleen, the IFB was a little broken there, but I believe you were talking about... He does appear to be going a little slower than freeway speeds. I would say at least 50 miles an hour at this point. I'm waiting for the airship to call out the next miles per hour, but at this point it does appear that he's going a little bit slower, but that's fine. I mean, we'll take the slower speeds if that means that this guy will drive that much safer, if you can call it that, because there were times when he was really flying. We heard he was going over 100 miles an hour. It was even difficult for us to get to the pursuit because he was just simply going so fast in the opposite direction that we were heading. But of course, now he has potentially that 1 tire that hit the spike strip, maybe 2, and so that has definitely contributed to him slowing his speeds. We don't know at this point whether or not they are communicating with him, but of course they know who he is. There are pursuits that we cover where of course it's a stolen vehicle or something of that nature where they don't know who he is and they have no way of simply giving him a phone call. But in this case, we know who the suspect is, or rather they know who he is. They know that he's a domestic violence suspect of some sort, and so they obviously know this guy's identity. They know where he lives. They've already tracked that down. So they very well could be in communication with him via cell phone. That is something we often hear about. But at this point, I can tell you, just based off of what I'm hearing on the police scanner, that is currently not the situation. Yeah, we're getting very close, actually. We're just past Christianitos, and I'm actually seeing that we're coming up to Basilone Road, which Basilone Road, if you're familiar with it, runs through Camp Pendleton. So we are just entering that area right there. I believe there is some sort of flight restriction here, so I'm sure my pilot Patrick will let me know. We may potentially have to go... We're above it, he's telling me. There is a flight restriction here that basically would make us either go above the restriction or we would have to go out into the ocean and fly the pursuit from there. But in this case, my pilot is already on top of it and we are over the restriction, so we can continue to bring you these images. Yeah, slowed down significantly. I'm thinking he's going about 35 miles an hour at this point, and I'm going to zoom in as much as I can because, of course, we are above that restriction, so we're pretty high up here now. But you can see that front driver's side tire. Yeah, you can see that's starting to go. So we don't know how much longer this is going to go, but I have a strong feeling that it won't be going for too much longer as he continues southbound here on the 5, approaching Basilone Road. Well, let's take a quick look. It definitely is slowing down here. We see at least 5 cruisers directly behind him. I'm going to take a quick peek ahead without losing the vehicle, of course. And so far, I'm not seeing anything, at least directly ahead of him. But of course, the California Highway Patrol patrols all of these highways, so they've already alerted their partners in San Diego about what's coming their way. So they're able to stage on the off-ramps and on-ramps to make sure that when this guy comes in their direction, they're able to take over. Yeah, this would be a perfect time for a pit maneuver. We know that the California Highway Patrol is pit equipped, so they are able to perform a pit maneuver if the situation calls for it. There are some agencies, of course, that don't have that policy, so they wouldn't be able to do it, but we know that the California Highway Patrol can, so this really would be a perfect situation. He is really slowing down to that perfect speed. 35 miles an hour or less is ideal. This particular vehicle isn't too large. It really isn't any larger than the police vehicle, so it wouldn't be out of the question that they could successfully perform a pit maneuver. The only reason why I am not 100% confident that they would do it is because we don't know if the guy is armed. If they know he's armed, they wouldn't attempt it because they would hate to put one of their officers in a situation where he would force the vehicle to spin out and then potentially be face to face with this suspect and the guy has a gun. So we will have to see once this does continue on, if it does continue on, what that situation is exactly. Yeah. Yeah, it would really be the best thing for him to just simply give up, because in this area where he's at now, there's literally nowhere to run. It is in an area where there's no businesses. It's at Camp Pendleton, basically, so there's nowhere to hide. It's not a situation where he could potentially run into somebody's home or apartment and try to hide out there. This is a situation where really all he has is this freeway and the ocean, and I doubt he wants to test his luck with the ocean, so he should really definitely just bring this to a stop as soon as he can. Exactly. Yeah, there's a possibility that the passenger side is also flat, but at this point we can definitely confirm that that driver's side front is basically down to the rim. You can see it there. I'm using my doubler here to really zoom in on it, and so you can really take a good look. So I'm sure we're going to start to see sparks flying here in a moment with the tire essentially being gone and this guy continuing to run on the rim. Oh, and here we go. CHP getting... Yep, coming up potentially for a pit maneuver. We will see if that happens. It looks like the suspect may know what's up here and is trying to dodge the unit here, but let's see. Coming slowly up to the back of the vehicle. Boom. Tap, gentle tap there. Wasn't enough to spin him out. He's going to try again. And there we go. So spinning out, but he still has control of the vehicle and is trying to spin his way out of it. And it looks like he's going to try to continue, but this unit here may try it yet again. And continuing on here. Yeah. Yeah, it looks like this guy's trying to give it another try. But now the suspect knows what's up, spinning out. And here we go down into the brush. Down into the brush area between the freeway and the ocean. You see the driver door opening. Hands up, so definitely a good sign here. Hands are up. I'll zoom out though just for a moment so that we can see the big picture here. Suspect has his hands up. The units will approach, of course, with guns drawn, and they will eventually start to ask the suspect to show them his waistband to make sure that there's nothing on his person that could potentially hurt them. And then he will turn around as well. So there you go, showing his waistband. He has to turn around. He's still a little too close to that vehicle for comfort. He could very well just try to go back in there. But you see him there raising his sweater so that the officers can take a good look to make sure that there is nothing on his person that could potentially hurt them. And once they feel comfortable, they will ask him to start walking backwards towards the police units. In some cases, I have seen them ask the suspect to crawl towards them. So we will see what the CHP decides to do in this situation. It looks like they are simply just asking him to walk back in their general direction, and they will eventually move in, put some cuffs on him, and take him into custody. Yeah, definitely want to get him out of the brush because, of course, they don't want this guy to try to run for it. They would like to have this guy walk to them and get him in a situation where he's not going to get hurt and they're not going to get hurt running after him. You see there, they're taking another good look at him before they ask him to get down on his knees. And when he does that, a team of officers will move in. You see the police canine dog there. He's ready to pounce if need be, but for now it looks like that won't be necessary. You see them putting the handcuffs on him. They will put the cuffs on him, and after they are done doing that, they will send a secondary team of officers over to the vehicle to make sure that there is nobody else inside. And at that point, they will call it a code 4, which means that everyone is in custody and this situation is over. But for now, the situation continues here on the southbound 5 near Camp Pendleton.
Running. Oh, this is gonna be close.
To watch more heart-stopping car chases happening across Southern California, subscribe here. Thanks for watching. The chase is on.